Welcome back to the Highlands Podcast. This is the final episode of this very special season. We've been going for the last 13 episodes through the book of Philippians. We've been taking one verse that didn't quite make the cut of our sermon series, This is from God, but we wanted to spend some extra time going through it on our podcast. I want to thank you for listening, for subscribing, for sharing, for liking, for leaving a review, for sending it to a friend. For engaging with us. This has been an incredible journey as we've been going through the book of Philippians. Thank you for going through the devotional called This is from God, as well as our sermon series at the Highlands, as we've been spending 13 weeks looking at the book of Philippians, which was written by Paul from jail to a church at Philippi, that's just full of joy, full of practical wisdom. And we've been looking at various things that have been from God. We believe, just like Philippians 1:27 and 28 declares, that there is a word from God for you. And we've been looking at each of those verses over these last 13 episodes. So I want to thank you for that. We have one final verse we want to talk about as we close out this book of Philippians. It's Philippians chapter number 4, verse 17. I'm going to read one verse and then we'll give a little bit of background as we drop into what Paul's saying to this church at Philippi. It's in Philippians chapter 4, verse 17. Paul tells the church, he says, "Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the profit that is increasing to your account." I love this because one of the things that the church of Philippi was known for was their generosity. They loved to give. They loved to be kind. And they loved to serve Paul and the ministries, in that region. And they just loved that the idea that they were continuing to sow into the kingdom of God, and God was giving them great harvests. And so Paul actually in verses 15 and 16 talk about, he went off to Macedonia. You can read about this in Acts chapter number 16. That's where he takes Timothy and he begins some new missions works. And Paul tells us in Philippians chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, that the church at Philippi was the only church that was financially supporting Paul in his missionary journeys. And so he's so grateful for them. And I was actually thinking about how this looks like in our life. And I don't know if you remember or play the game Monopoly. I don't know if we have any Monopoly fans. I don't love Monopoly because it takes like 18 hours to play a game. It's not super fun. I get bored pretty quickly. And I remember playing Monopoly and with my girls, and I've shared with you before, I did not let my girls when they were young win games. Like maybe parents, you did. You're much kinder than I am. But when I was playing my girls in like Chutes and Ladders or checkers or Monopoly, like I played to win. I don't care if they're 5 or 6, like they're going to earn this victory. Keep your judgment for later. Don't share that your parenting advice. But I just really love to win. And I was thinking about that game Monopoly, how remember when if you were to play, often there was at least one person that wanted to be the banker. Like they were like, I want to be the banker. I want to be the banker. And because I'm so competitive, my first thought was when someone wanted to be the banker, I'm like, are they going to cheat? Like, is that because really the banker controls the money? Like the banker has all the money in front of them, and maybe I have a jaded view of the world. I'm not sure. But I'm just like, man, are they cheating? Like, what's going on? They better not cheat. I'm here to win. But what the banker would do is they would actually kind of lay out all of the money in front of them. And then when you would get a property, you'd pass go, whatever the case, they would give you the money. And I was thinking about that idea of how often many people want to be the banker for the Monopoly. And it's the same in life. Like we want to be the banker in our life. Like we're like, okay, I get paid. I these investments. I made this money. I sold this item, and I am the banker. And really, we like to be the banker because, really, honestly, we like to be in control. But I was thinking about what Paul's saying. He's telling this church at Philippi that, hey, I'm so grateful for your generosity to me. But I want you to know that it wasn't the blessing. The blessing for me wasn't that you gave me the funds. The blessing for me was actually watching God increase you. And I was thinking about that. Did you know in life, we're not the banker? Actually, God is the banker when you think about this idea of our finances. In fact, when we think about our generosity, God is the one in heaven, like a Monopoly banker. He's like, oh man, the church at Philippi, they were really blessing Paul. So I'm going to bless them back. And we understand, hopefully, that we don't give so that we can get. We're not giving so that we could receive another blessing. Jesus tells us in Acts chapter 20, verse 35, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And we understand if you've ever been generous with somebody, you've given to a family, you've given to a ministry need or something going on at church, and you've given, you know that there's blessing in just giving. You know that when you give it away, you know that that already is a blessing. But what I love when God's the banker is that he wants to bless us. And so what Paul's telling the church, he's saying, hey, you sowed into my ministry. You gave to these mission efforts. And he's like, the blessing for me was seeing the profit that was increasing in your account. Now, perhaps that profit was financial. Maybe they gave funds to Paul and God gave them those funds plus extra in return. But often I found in my own life that the profit that increases in my account is not always financial. Sometimes it's peace at home. Sometimes it's raising kids who love Jesus. Sometimes the profit in my account is that I have a strong walk with the Lord, that even in the midst of turmoil and chaos in the world, I still have a peace that maybe doesn't make sense, as we read about and heard about in Philippians, earlier in the chapter of Philippians 4. My point is that you and I, when we give, we're not the banker. And that's a good thing. God's the banker, and God doesn't cheat. God only blesses those who are generous. And I want to encourage you that when we think about this idea of generosity, just think about it in terms of not like, I'm going to give God $100, so he better give me $105 back. No, we just give, and we're generous, and we are just allowing God to increase our profits. And I promise you that he will increase. I love what the church at Philippi was known for, because not only were they known for their generosity, but they were known for their joy. Over and over and over in the book of Philippians, you find Paul saying, rejoice in the Lord. Again, I say rejoice. They were known for this idea that they are joyful. And what I found in my life, and perhaps you've seen it in yours, is that often the most generous people are the most joyful people. Those are the ones that give things away, that they find that God blesses them over and over and over again. And what I love is that sometimes the stingiest people are often the least joyful people that I know. And I want to encourage you today, are you generous? Are you stingy? Are you trying to be the banker and not let God be the banker? Because God wants to give you a profit as you are generous to him. So the reflection question I want to ask you is this: are you the banker in your life? If you are, I want to encourage you, that's not where you want to be. You need to turn that over to God and say, God, you're in control of my finances. You're in control of my generosity. You're in control of my money. And I want to give this away. And just whatever you decide to do, I will trust and obey. Because we need God to be the center of our finances. As we wrap up this series in Philippians, I believe it's appropriate to end with generosity. Because God has deposited so much into our life and given us so many resources that it's incredible. And we're grateful for it. We say, God, thank you for these blessings. But we also understand that God has given us much so that we will give away much. God doesn't bless us just so that we can kind of hoard our blessings. God blesses us so we can begin to bless others. And so I would encourage you, allow God to be the banker. Watch him turn a profit in your life, both spiritually, financially, relationally, with your health, with your family, your marriage, your kids, because God is not a cheat. He doesn't try to skimp out as the banker, but he will bless your generosity. And so I want to thank you again for being part of this series. If you missed any episode, go back. We hit on one verse each episode that we weren't able to touch on in our sermon series. I want to thank those who helped me teach the sermon series at the Highlands. Make sure you go back and listen to all the sermons. And then, of course, we have the This Is From God devotional that I wrote that was going verse by verse through the book of Philippians. This has been an incredible journey. I pray that it's been encouraging to you. I can't wait to see you on our next season of the Highlands Podcast. Thanks again for watching, subscribing, sharing, liking, all of those things. It's been an encouragement to me and a help to all those around you. Pray you have a great end of this year as we are wrapping up this year at the time of this recording, but I pray it. Blessings on the new year and all that God's doing for you. Remember, be generous. You can never go wrong being generous. God will bless you in ways that you never thought possible. Hope you have a great, great week. God bless. Thanks again for being part.